On a lazy Sunday, you're lying on the couch with an expensive custom dog bed tucked away in the corner. But your dog ignores all that empty space, walks over, circles 3 times, and then thud plops down on your lap like a sack of potatoes, pressing itself right up against you so tightly that you're completely sealed in. Some say this is because dogs don't know their place, or are staking their claim. Nothing could be further from the truth. Modern neuroscience reveals that this is by no means a matter of hogging space, but rather an extremely rare cross-species, neurobiological symphony. If you push them away, you have no idea what you're interrupting. Today, we're going to break down the 5 hidden truths behind why dogs insist on sleeping right up against you. Trust me, once you understand the deep bond behind this, you'll definitely want to hold this furry, little, heavyweight even tighter tonight. Ready to dive into a dog's mind? Let's start by looking at how dogs sleep. You've surely seen this scene. Your dog is snuggled up tight against you, but its rear end is facing your face, or its back is pressed against your chest, while its face is turned toward the bedroom door or the living room window. Many dog owners find this a bit funny or even a little frustrating. What's actually happening is your dog is executing an ancient and sacred tactical defense protocol. In the wild, sleeping equals a risk of death. When animals close their eyes and lose the sharpness of their sight and hearing, they become the perfect blind spot for predators. And deep within the canine genetic code lies a survival rule: never expose your blind spots to unknown threats. When your dog sleeps with its back to you, it isn't ignoring you. Quite the opposite. In its subconscious, it's forming a perfect 360-degree defensive formation with you. You can think of this as the formation used by Secret Service agents to protect VIPs. It entrusts its most vulnerable back to the person it trusts most in the world, you, because it knows that if danger strikes from behind, you'll be the first to sense it. Meanwhile, it takes charge of monitoring the only passageway to the outside world, that door or that window. In its worldview, you aren't master and servant, you're comrades in arms, back to back in the darkness, sharing life and death. So, the next time your dog presses its furry back firmly against your stomach while keeping its face alertly turned toward the bedroom door, please don't push it away. It's telling you in its own unique way, I'm entrusting my back to you. Don't be afraid, I'll guard the front. Your dog has a strange quirk, doesn't he? When he's not sleeping pressed up against you, he'll never go to that clean dog bed. Instead, he'll dig out the sweatshirt you took off yesterday and haven't had a chance to wash yet, or one of your old, sweat-scented socks. Then ball it up into a nest, bury his nose deep inside, and sleep like a baby. You might find it a bit gross, but to your dog, that's not just sweat. It's their chemical safe haven. To prove this, we need to bring in some truly hardcore scientific research. Neurobehavioral researchers at the renowned Canine Cognitive Neuroscience Laboratory at Emory University once conducted a groundbreaking functional magnetic resonance imaging (fMRI) study. Not only did they train dogs to stay awake and completely still inside the fMRI machine, but more importantly, they monitored how the dogs' brains reacted to different scents while in a resting state. The researchers presented the dogs with 5 different scents: a familiar dog, an unfamiliar dog, a stranger, familiar food, and their owner's scent. The results were astonishing. When the owner's scent appeared, the dog's caudate nucleus, the region of the brain responsible for processing extremely intense positive rewards, pleasure, and a sense of security, exploded with the strongest electrical response of the entire experiment. The intensity of this response far exceeded even their reaction to the scent of a prime cut of beef. Stop for a moment and think about what this means. Humans are visual creatures. When we close our eyes and sleep in the dark, the world disappears. But dogs are olfactory creatures. Their olfactory cortex is 40 times larger than that of humans. To them, a scent isn't just a fragrance floating in the air. It's a 3-dimensional structure. When your dog sleeps right next to you or buries its nose in your old clothes, it is actually building a fortress out of your scent. Your scent directly triggers powerful anti-anxiety chemicals in its nervous system. On their brain scans, your scent equates to absolute safety. So, it's not just smelling your sweat, it's using your scent to build a mental bunker in its brain, shielding itself from nightmares and anxiety. It's saying, only within this scent barrier do I dare to let my soul completely relax. Hearing this, if you've ever felt guilty or annoyed because your dog hogged half the bed or soiled your clean clothes, I hope what wells up in your heart right now is a sense of pride in being deeply trusted, because you are its whole world. If you're the kind of owner who would rather hang half your body off the edge of the bed or even suffer leg cramps than wake up the dog sleeping soundly against your leg, then you've come to the right place. Please click the subscribe button and leave a like. This channel is dedicated to die-hard dog lovers like you who treat their dogs as true family members. Tell me in the comments, which part of your body does your dog love to snuggle up to most when sleeping tonight? Alright, let's continue. The following discovery is one of the most shocking breakthroughs in the scientific community recently. Now, let's answer a question you've probably asked yourself countless times. Why do dogs insist on physically pressing against you? Even if there's 2 meters of space on the bed, they have to make sure at least one part of their body, a paw, half a chin, or an entire thigh, is firmly pressed against you. If you roll over and move 10 centimeters away in the middle of the night, within 5 seconds, they'll slide over like a magnet to fill that 10-centimeter gap. It's not just about seeking warmth. It is a cross-species synchronization of biological rhythms. In 2022, behavioral physiologists at the Royal Veterinary College in London conducted an in-depth monitoring study on the thigmotaxis, the instinct for an organism to seek physical contact for psychological comfort, of domestic dogs. The researchers did not merely observe the dog's sleeping positions, they fitted both dogs and their owners with high-precision biomonitoring vests to measure their microvibrations and respiratory rates during sleep. They discovered a physiological phenomenon that could be described as magical. When a dog's body makes physical contact with a human's chest, abdomen, or legs, the extremely faint rhythmic muscle movements caused by human breathing are transmitted directly through the dog's skin and bones into its central nervous system. In this study, veterinary behaviorists discovered that within just 15 minutes of physical contact, the dog's breathing rates began to change. They were no longer governed by their own natural physiological rhythms, but actively began to anchor and match the human breathing rhythm. Your body, every expansion and contraction of your lungs, becomes your dog's tactile pacemaker. Why is this important? Because only when their breathing rate slows down and remains deep and steady can dogs enter the deepest stage of REM, rapid eye movement sleep, a critical period when their brains process memories and repair cells. The reason it presses itself tightly against you, fitting into the contours of your body like a puzzle piece, is that it is borrowing your vital signs to soothe the vigilance and anxiety that have been hidden in its genes for millennia. With every rise and fall of your breath, you're singing a lullaby to its nervous system. I'm breathing, I'm alive, I'm calm, and there's no danger. It treats you as its life support system. This level of physical dependence is so romantic, it takes your breath away. We hinted at this earlier now. Take a look at how your dog sleeps during the cold winter. It certainly doesn't just lie down next to you. It curls its body into an extremely compact croissant shape, then forces itself into the back of your knees, the popliteal fossa, or presses tightly against the curve of your waist. Do you think it's just cold and sees you as a free electric blanket? No, you're underestimating your dog's intelligence. It's actually working with you to build a thermal shield. In thermodynamic behavior, this is known as microclimate sharing. Canines have a normal body temperature several degrees higher than humans, typically between 101 and 102.5 degrees Fahrenheit. When they press their softest, least furred bellies against the hollows of your joints, they're actually engaging in a highly precise form of energy convection. They aren't simply drawing heat from you in one direction. They are actually using their own bodies to fill the air gaps around you, where heat escapes most rapidly. Back in the Ice Age, when humans and wolves first began sharing campfires, this sleeping arrangement where two heat-generating beings fit together like puzzle pieces was the only reason both could survive freezing nights with temperatures dropping to well below zero. So, when your dog forcefully squeezes itself into the space between your legs at 3 a.m., what S running through its brain is T, I am cold, but an ancestral command. Lock our body heat together so we can both wake up alive tomorrow morning. It sees you as part of a shared life community. This final point is also the most important and serious one. It is why every owner who deeply loves their dog must learn to interpret their sleeping behavior. Suppose your dog has slept glued to you like chewing gum every night for 3 years. Every time you roll over, it shifts along with you. But suddenly, one week, you notice it has changed. It no longer gets on the couch. It would rather lie alone on the cold tile floor. Or it starts hiding under the bed, far away from you. Many owners might assume it has grown up and become independent. Please stop this self-reassurance immediately. Dogs are creatures that rely extremely heavily on routine. When a deeply ingrained sleeping habit, one closely tied to trust, disappears, overnight, it is almost always a red flag. At this point, you need to set aside psychology and adopt a veterinary perspective. Veterinary clinical studies show that a sudden change in sleeping position and avoidance of physical contact are often the earliest signs of silent pain in dogs. Why go to the cold tile floor? Because the cool temperature of the tiles can provide very slight relief from joint pain that has just begun to flare up, such as early-stage osteoarthritis. Why does it hide under the bed, away from you? Because in the wild, injured animals know they have become vulnerable. If it is in pain, it will be extremely fearful of any potential physical pressure. It no longer sleeps close to you, not because it no longer loves you, but because it fears that an unintentional roll in your sleep might press against its inflamed spine or its aching abdominal organs. For senior dogs, this sudden change in behavior is more likely caused by spatial disorientation due to early canine cognitive dysfunction, CCD equivalent to human Alzheimer's disease, or by a fear of heights, such as jumping onto the sofa, resulting from declining hearing and vision. Dogs don't have words. They can't sit across from you with a cup of coffee at breakfast and talk to you. The only language they have to communicate with you is the distance they keep from your body. So, if it suddenly steps back, please don't mistake it for independence. It's a silent cry for help. Please take it to the vet immediately for a comprehensive orthopedic and pain assessment. Now, let's return to that Sunday afternoon. Your dog is still lying heavily on your thigh in an extremely contorted, domineering posture that fills your entire field of vision. Your leg may already be starting to go numb. You might be thinking about pushing it away, but before you do, take a look at it. Look at its belly rising and falling with your breath. Look at the way it sleeps facing the door, always ready to walk through fire for you. Think about how, right now, in the caudate nucleus of its brain, the neurotransmitter called happiness is bursting like fireworks because it smells your scent. Your dog, its lifespan on this planet, is so fleeting. To the universe, 12 to 15 years is nothing more than a fleeting blink. And in this brief life, it has only one thing to do each day: wait for you to come home, and then treat you as the center of its entire world. Sleep is the moment when any living being is at its most vulnerable and defenseless. When it entrusts this absolute vulnerability to you, when it synchronizes its breathing rhythm with your heartbeat, it isn't hogging your couch. It is using every ounce of its biological instinct in the most primal, clumsy, yet purest way to try to stitch its soul together with yours. So, the next time it lies on top of you, leaving you unable to move, don't push it away. Embrace this weighty love. Because in this complex, cold world, to be trusted, absolutely like a god by such a pure soul, that is the greatest privilege we humans can ever receive.